All right, guys, let's see what we got on this college football and NFL parlay this weekend. Um, well, I'm not going to talk about, last week I think I did half and half again. I'm not too sure, but I got a lot of key games right. I remember I talked about Jacksonville. One thing that really sticks out is Jacksonville, Jaguars, and Jacksonville State. I was telling you guys about the 33 on those games and how Jacksonville is the area where they got like a little Nile River down there. It flows the opposite direction um, of the way it's supposed to flow. So I thought that was significant with Jacksonville State and Jaguars end up both winning. Jaguars just destroyed the Chargers. The Chargers just suck. So let's go ahead and get into this, guys. Let's see, we got a 10-teamer here. All right, so we're going to start off with BYU, guys. BYU, the only team that beat BYU really bad was Texas Tech, and that's to be understood because Texas Tech most likely wins that division. I think it's the Big 12. BYU was playing Cincinnati. We know Cincinnati got a decent cornerback, Sorsby, but I don't think Cincinnati is really a good football team like that, guys. Okay, I think they're going to have some problems on defense. This is a primetime game, and I believe BYU is number 13 or 14 in the country. From a bettor's perspective, it seems like there's an incentive to throw some cheese at Cincinnati since you're getting 2.5 points with them at home. But I don't see it, guys. I think BYU is just a better football team than Cincinnati. Okay, I think Cincinnati is going to lose this game. Okay. So I got BYU minus 2.5. Moving on, Pittsburgh at Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech is 9-1. And I actually predicted Georgia Tech's loss, which was they got beat on the road by NC State. I predicted that loss. I'm going to dip my finger into this again, predicting that they're actually going to lose against Pittsburgh, even though they've won 10 straight home games, even though it's senior night. Georgia Tech has a big problem. Even though they got like the best offense in the country, guys. Nah, I don't. They got a really, really bad defense, guys. They can't stop nobody. They can't stop nobody, guys. That's gonna spell trouble for a Pitt team that's 5-1 in the conference. Pittsburgh is good as well too. They just got beat by Notre Dame, and coming off a loss, I think they're gonna be hungry to upset Georgia Tech a week before they gotta play Miami and most likely lose that game, if not be competitive game. Again, I'm taking Pittsburgh to win this game, guys, because Georgia Tech, everybody's going to be riding with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech doesn't have a good enough defense for me to be riding with them guys against Pittsburgh. I don't care what their records say. If you want to talk about a team that's overrated, it's Georgia Tech because they don't have no defense. All they got is a good quarterback. That's about it. Moving on, UTSA playing Eastern Carolina. UTSA is really good at home, guys. Texas, San Antonio, they're really good at home. It's going to be a tough game for East Carolina. I believe East Carolina is 5-1 in the conference. Texas, San Antonio is 3-3. But you can't go by that, guys, because, you can't go by that because based on who Eastern Carolina beat in the conference, bottom tier teams. You see, Texas, San Antonio had a tougher schedule. If ECU was really that much better in their conference, 5-1 in the conference, if they were so good, why are they only favored by minus 2.5 points? So here's a situation. It's one of those games that nobody's really paying attention to, guys. Kind of like the Jacksonville State game last week versus Kennesaw. It's one of those games where I happily take the home field advantage here. Okay, with a decent football team that's going to have a crowd behind them. I understand that Texas San Antonio is a very tough place for football teams to come in and win it. All right. So, again, it's just one of those games nobody's paying attention to. I'll gladly take the points with the home team. This is a toss-up game. All right. So, moving on. Got TCU at Houston. I believe TCU is plus 1.5 dog. TCU is coming off a loss against BYU, which I predicted that was going to happen. And here's a game that is just simply TCU. I just simply think they're a better football team than Houston. I didn't have to think much about this. Moving on. All right, moving on to the NFL, guys. Got the Arizona Cardinals at home versus Jaguars. The Jaguars been overachieving, or have they really? Okay, so they beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs we now know for sure that the Chiefs are Indians. Jaguars been doing some stuff. They beat a Chargers team who we now know is it ain't charging nothing. Okay, they ain't charging nothing. They losing they charge big time. But here's a game where I think Arizona is going to take advantage of the fact that Jacksonville, number one, is on the road, and Jacksonville is just not that good of a team as we think they are. If they really were, I think they'll be favored by more than -2.5 points versus the Arizona Cardinals. Once again, here's a game nobody's really paying attention to that I think the Cardinals are going to come out with a win. I'll gladly take see in some cases I take home field advantage. In some cases. Moving on, guys. Cleveland Browns. We had all this talk about Shedeur Sanders, about how the NFL doing him wrong, and all that crybaby story. Well, come to find out, he's starting this weekend, and when I hear stuff like this in the media, I take the person who they talking down on, which is Shedeur Sanders. I expect them to beat the Raiders. The Raiders suck. We all know they suck. And the Browns simply have a better defense than the Raiders. So I think this, just like how they saying they set Shedeur Sanders up, well, they're going to set him. I believe they're going to set him up to win this weekend. Capiche? I think that's well understood. Toss-up game. You can give me the guy all the bad media's on. Now they're going to be talking the world about him this come Sunday. That's the flip-flop type of stuff they like to do. Moving on. Packers at home versus Minnesota. Minnesota's +6.5. We all remember when Minnesota was dogs +9.5 at Detroit. Minnesota ends up winning that game. I don't think that's this type of situation. I think the Packers have a really good defense at home. I think the Vikings are going to have a lot of trouble scoring. And it's not much to be said about this game. Vegas giving the Vikings all these points when we all know the Vikings beat the Lions on a +9.5. People think the same thing is going to go around again. I just don't see it happen. I think the Packers are a better division team. And unfortunately, they're going to dominate the Vikings. I say unfortunately because I like the Vikings. They got some really key pieces on the team, guys, but they're just not set up to overachieve, and at least not in a division. And I do not think they're a better team than Detroit Lions, regardless of that win. I think the Packers will dominate them. And I got the Packers covering the spread -6.5 at home. Moving on. Got the Eagles at Dallas. Dallas coming off a big a big win versus the Raiders. Whoop-de-doo, right? They beat the Raiders. Well, I think they're going to come back home and face reality. Maybe not. Maybe Dallas will cover this game. Maybe they'll win. But you're not going to have them. I mean, you ain't going to have me putting that on my parlay for the Cowboys to win or cover this game. I think the Eagles are going to go in there and deliver a big smackdown. We all used to Dallas flip-flopping. They win, they lose. They win, they lose. They win, they lose. Well, it's time for them to lose. And who not better they lose to than the Super Bowl champions, the Eagles. The Eagles should dominate this game. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you can give me Eagles -3.5 on the road. Easy pickings. And these last two, I'm putting on there just so I can only have to put $10 on this ticket. Got the Steelers +3 at the Bears. They're talking about Aaron Rodgers could be a little injured. I think it's thumb or something. Whenever they start talking about injuries and stuff, guys, I'm going to take that. That's the exact person who I'm going to take to be in the game. Maybe the Bears will win this game. I don't know, but I feel like there's incentive in getting some points with the Steelers. And, I don't think the Bears can just keep rolling and winning like this. All right, not much said about that. Okay, finally, guys, I got the Colts +3.5 at the Chiefs. Well, we know the Chiefs don't have the defense like they used to, so why not take the Colts +3.5 versus the Chiefs? And these 2 +3s are at different times, so I'm not worried about nothing relatable. We're taking a road +3. Okay. I just simply think the Colts are going to be in a game versus neither team really has any defense. So whenever that's the case, I'm going to take the dog every single time. And the Chiefs are not since that loss to the Broncos, we know the Chiefs are not. They're not who we thought they were or used to be. They are now Indians. So why not take the points with a very overachieving Colts football team? All right, so that's it, guys. That's gonna be my parlay for this weekend. Looks good. If it's any games on here that I worry about the most, not really. I guess just the Eagles and the Packers covering. I ain't worried about Georgia Tech just because they're 9-1. I predicted their one loss. I'm predicting their second loss. Other than that, there's nothing about this ticket that's silly. And yeah, that's what I'm riding with.